Hey there, Divergonauts. Welcome to today's episode of Divergent Wisdom Broadcast. I'm very excited to share that Charlie Morrow has joined us again today for a totally different brand of conversation. And she has accessed my Akashic Records, and we have spent time discussing some very big and expansive concepts and perspectives through that lens in our conversation today. So I wanted to hop on here and share that if you have any kind of glimmer or interest in the space that is everything, everywhere, all at once, then this is the episode for you. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below. Now let's dive in. Welcome to Divergent Wisdom Broadcast, where curiosity reveals the endless aspects of convergence between science and spirituality. Join me, Doc Sibson, as we explore new perspectives with our guests, bridging the space between worlds to discover paradigm-shifting common ground. It's time to get rebellious. So I am very pleased to welcome back Charlie Morrow to the Divergent Wisdom Broadcast today. If you haven't already watched/listened to our previous conversation, please do go and check it out because it evolved into this brilliant, expansive, wonderful thing that I would love to share with you and gives you a bit of background about Charlie's journey up until now. And today, I have asked Charlie to share with us in detail about the Akashic Records. So I will just invite you to share with us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we'll dive right into defining some stuff for people and give you a better perspective before we go into the records and ask them for what wisdom they have to share today.
I'm so excited. So yes, I am. I am a professional Akashic record reader, and most people don't know what that is when I say that. But it's really just connecting in with the energetic space that holds your soul's history, holds all of our soul's history. It's the energetic space that just holds the record of everything that's ever been thought, felt, done through every lifetime. Akasha itself is Sanskrit for ether. And so this is an ancient practice. It's one that typically goes hand in hand with yoga and meditation, just hasn't been something that's been really part of the zeitgeist until much more recently. Sort of fell out of fashion, kind of came back in. And it's just a really beautiful way to connect in with your soul's record and get answers to questions from a non-judgmental, loving, perpetually cheering you on space as you continue to have your human experience. And really with the love and support of beings who are trying to support you in this very intense human experience that you may be having. So I love the Akashic Records. I love getting in them. I love having conversations. It's just an opportunity as an adult to play in your own grandness and your own divinity and your own light and love. So I'm excited to talk about this because I've not had conversations in the Akashic Records about neurodivergence and neurodiversity in general and what's happening for humanity and the whole everything. And I love Sarah's records. Oh. Sarah, you're so fun to get in. Your records are beautiful. They're so fun to read.
Oh, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Well, and I suppose that begs the question then. So you talk about accessing this space where all of this knowledge is held. Wisdom, really. It's not just information. It is the ultimate bird's eye view perspective of everything ever. Yeah. So when you talk about accessing or reading records, what does that mean? Like, what are we doing with that process with you as a physical human entering an energetic space? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So there's a number of different ways that it can really be described, but the way that I kind of feel it is it's similar to channeling. It's similar to just checking in with this really deep, deep part of you, because we all have access to this because we are all already connected to it. It's also something that's known in other spiritual zones. Like, it's referred to as the book of knowledge, the book of wisdom in Judeo-Christian circles. It's the quantum realm, if you're thinking in terms of quantum physics. And really, you can just sort of think of it as the not here. It's simply a place that is not here, that we are all energetically connected to. And what's really funny, just for whatever reason, this kind of came to mind, but when I've explained to people, like, it's the energetic space that holds your soul's history, people get a little bit like embarrassed almost initially. They're like, oh no, you're going to go in my records. You're going to find out what I said to so-and-so in the 7th grade. And it's like, well, no.
I mean, if it's specifically relevant to our question, maybe, but we're not just going around for like a voyeuristic, view on your life. That's not what's happening.
No. It's also a protected space. First of all, there are guides who are they're record keepers who they won't let you.
No.
You go in with permission. You go in with someone's full name. You are actively engaging with that person when you are there. And the information that you're getting is for your highest good. It's for what is in this moment for you today, in your highest good, to know, to hear, to help you clear some blockages you may have, to help you heal something that maybe you need healed, or just to provide you with perspective that you haven't had an opportunity to get before, or really just to kind of bask in this really high vibration, really loving, really non-judgmental space where a lot of the information that's coming out is also very, I want to say, poetic in nature. There's usually a lot of metaphors. You're never going to get anything in the Akashic Records telling you what you should be doing. There's no should, because there's no judgment. It's not a psychic reading. You're not getting like, in 2 years, you're going to meet the love of your life, and it will.
They will have brown hair and blue eyes, and you'll have 5 children, and their names will be like, no, that's not the thing.
No. There's a potential, I guess, if you go down this particular road or thought path of something, but it really is a beautiful opportunity for you to connect in. And so when someone is connecting in and reading the Akashic Records, they're just going into themselves. They're going into sort of this heart-centered connection point. And it really does feel like it's coming through the top of your head. It feels like you are actually getting you can almost imagine like a line, like just going and then connecting right in here. And then just sort of this flow of information, of energetic information comes through you. And for me, it's a full body experience. I'm actively translating these records. So I'm saying what I'm hearing. I don't hear anything externally. It's all internal, but I kind of can sort of hear things. I can feel things. Emotions will often come out. I can sometimes see sort of visuals. My eyes will be closed when I'm sort of talking. And yeah, my body gets involved. My hands begin to move. They do their own things. I have asked many times of my Akashic Records, what is happening when my hands are doing things? And the answer I get every time, which is what's happening right now, is don't worry about it. I get a very, because part of being able to read the Akashic Records involves being able to take your ego, being able to take your mind, your thoughts, your everything really, and put yourself kind of in your own backseat and allow this information to come through and trust where it's coming from, because you can feel it. It's coming from this beautiful, loving, deeply home-based place. And the information that comes through it, like I said, it's not judgmental. So when you can feel that coming through, all you feel coming through is love. When you're translating, all you feel is just this immense directional, because it's to the person you're talking to, directional, here's information that is for your highest good because of how much everything loves you. And by everything, it's you yourself. It's information from you yourself, from your highest good, from source, from your soul, from whatever you want to call it. It's directing it all to you and to what it is you're asking for and what it is you're wanting to know for today, for your, how many times can I say your highest good?
I know, but that's exactly
good.
It's exactly right. And I think that's some very key points there, is to say, it's not predictive. It's not saying these things for sure will happen. When we talk about truth, this is a really hard one for me, because the angry tantrum part of me, when I was learning about truth from the perspective of the records, is truth is also what's for your highest good in the moment. It doesn't necessarily mean something shared with you is absolutely going to happen, or is the black and white truth of the whole world, or even yourself, say in 5 hours time. Right now, this is the truth. And so that's a really hard thing for me. I still have lots of discussions around this. But I think that gives people kind of a really good baseline for what we're talking about. It's a really hard conceptual thing to wrap your mind around if you're only learning about the records as we're talking about it right now. So I think it's good to just give that perspective. And the other thing is time in the records is not a thing. So outside of our human experience of life and one moment being stacked in front of the other, the way we perceive it as a line up there, that's not a thing. It's all happening at once. Time is immaterial. So if we happen to get any information about, past or future, that's them putting it in a frame of reference we can understand, but there's no way to know. We might understand it as future, but it could be the 5 hour from now me, or it could be the 50-year from now me. Who knows? So just some ground rules, I guess, is kind of the way to describe that, right?
And especially if someone's never experienced an Akashic record reading before, they've never seen one, they've never encountered one, I like to really think of it as it really is just sort of an experience. It's a moment for you to connect with your soul. That's what it is. And it's a moment for you to connect with your soul in a way that's a little song and dancey, if I'm being honest. Like, I sort of serve as a way for you to focus, but also I'm being like a little bit of a human distraction while your own consciousness, your own soul, everything that is for you from guides, but also literally from your soul. I had these conversations before where absolutely people are like, wow, that felt like I was having a conversation with myself. And I was like, exactly. You're having the conversation with your own soul without the distraction of your mind.
Pretty much. It's engaged enough in what's going on and the way it's being relayed. And it allows for that channel, I guess, to open up in yourself of being able to receive without the blocks that it might place in the way. And the other thing is that the way the information is shared is through you as a communicator, as a vessel for the information. So each reader and reading is different because it's the person that is accessing the records for you, and it is specifically the individual's records. So it's that pairing that creates a unique dynamic each time it happens. So if you've had readings with other people and watch or listen to this and experience it as quite different, then that's why, because it's Charlie doing it and it's my records. So that is a singular dynamic that is not played out in any other way. So it just felt important to mention. So I would love to jump right in with that ground rules and understanding kind of laid out for people. And what we will do is use the process that Charlie and I have learned through our program, and that will be off air for reasons of privacy and understanding the sanctity of this space. You're very welcome. This is not gatekeeping. If you are called to do this, please, please, please go to Little Soul School's website. They have a free program that helps you understand this key that we're going to use, easily accessible to anyone who wants to try it. So please go there and do that if you're called to do so. And once we have opened up my records using our process, then we'll dive right in and see what wisdom they have for us.
And just sort of to prepare a little bit, when you see me coming in, I do read the key. I get connected in. You'll see my hands. They do their own thing. It is completely, it's their control, not mine. I then have a process by which I am describing what I'm sort of experiencing. That's me kind of energetically, physically calibrating to Sarah's records. You're also going to hear me laugh because that's how I read the records. It tends to be quite funny. There tends to be some humor in there. Sometimes there's a little bit of a, butt kicking.
Also, the two of us together is like, I have experienced amazing connections with other students in the program, but this really feels like our team's like, finally, we just get to tell them the truth like it is with someone who knows how to talk to them the way they need to hear it. So it really, when you're saying it's like talking to your higher self, it really is. That's what it feels like for me. Charlie is just an embodiment right here in front of us of how I can do that, if that makes any sense. So yeah, lots of laughing, probably some swearing, maybe a little bit of attitude, but we'll see what opens up.
All right, I'll go ahead and get into them now.
Beautiful.
And as I'm just getting tuned in here, it's interesting. It kind of started with sort of this big energetic bubble down below my chest. Almost this I'm feeling just sort of this new creation of everything. Getting interesting chakra notes. Everything is basically just base chakra into creation itself. You are in this energy of expansion. I almost want to say birth, but that almost constrains it in a way. There's sort of this feeling of there's been this process of moving in and moving down to this root that is then getting integrated as we're talking. That's cool. It's a very grounded energy, Sarah. It's a really grounded energy today.
Deeply that would grounded. Be the healing I did last night.
Nice. Nice.
I'm making a difference. That's beautiful.
All right. So I'm tapped into this beautiful grounded energy, which I need very much. So I really appreciate this. Just on a personal level, I very much appreciate it. Okay. All right. So what questions have we got for your Akashic Records today?
Well, nothing specific, because I find on these big existential topics, it's best to just let them run the show, like it usually is anyway, right? So I would love to ask them what they have to share with us today about what we call neurodivergence, so the variation of brains that humans experience.
What's going to come through is going to be a little bit more stream of consciousness than the sharing of what I'm seeing and hearing, because I'm just sort of stepping aside. This calling of neurodivergence, of a world in which there are those with differences, is part of this evolution that is happening on a global scale. What we call neurodivergence is a new sowing of how to have a mind in a world that does not then get locked into mental constructs. It's an evolution of humanity. It's every piece of what is being built on a physical, on a mental, and on a global energetic level. It has taken many years. It has taken many people. Many souled beings have come. Many souled beings have continued to step on this path to lay the groundwork for this next process. In order for humans to evolve the way that they have been destined to evolve, the mind must evolve first. And the mind has been evolving. This is so that heart-centered communication reigns over the stylistic differences that are emerging and will continue to emerge. When one is not bound by what is in the mind, when one is not forced into a specific way of existing, and they're showing me just bound like chains, I'm getting just absolutely chained up existence. When one is not bound like this, one has the capacity to connect to anyone else on a deeper level, on a level that is not understood right now by many, but is being understood in big ways with those who have already started this process. What process? Okay. Just like what process? Like they kind of were just like the evolution of humans.
The thing.
I already told you that. The thing that you're all here to do. Okay. The thing
Yeah.
that you.
The whole point of our school, right? Come on, guys. How many times are we telling you?
This is why you're here. This is why. This is how. This is the when. This is the how. And what you're seeing as neurodivergence is keep hitting this. Sorry. What you're seeing as neurodivergence is not. It is more common. It is more common now than it has ever been. It is more common in the human experience. In order to have the capacity to step into the new paradigms, you have to have more. And they're showing me just this. They're kind of showing me this ever-changing puzzle ball, where it's almost like anything that has to just go through all of these little itty bitty iterations of things that are constantly moving and shifting, and where the brains are that are not capable of doing that are not capable of this level of flexibility. They're just flat 2D drawings of brains. So it's really this big shift in how everything that we are capable of doing as humans, every way in which we are capable of experiencing this experience of being human and the growth that we are capable of doing at an accelerated level happens much faster and much less painfully when you and everything inside can shift with what is necessary instead of having to rewrite and redraw every time something new must come out. It is an evolution. That seems to be the big piece of it, is neurodivergence is human evolution at work in a way that we simply don't yet understand, because we're kind of stuck in the mind jails that humanity has been in for thousands and thousands of years. And we've gotten to the intellectual point where we can identify these differences. We simply pathologize them and talk about how they are incorrect because they do not fit on the page. It is a 2D versus 3D understanding. Like metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, before we get into realms and all that kind of stuff.
They're like pointed. They're like,
let's just be clear.
Yeah. Is there anywhere that you would like to anything that came out of that you would like to expand on or go further into?
Well, as always, all the things, because I'm fascinated by this topic, obviously. But what really stood out for me was their description of neurodivergence as a way to access these new perspectives, these new levels of our experience. I'd love to know if they could share more about what those differing new kind of perspectives and experiences are that we're unlocking through this.
What is being okay. We're going on a slightly different journey.
We follow.
Yeah. So they're taking me down into, and I'm feeling it even physically in my body. There's sort of this compression that's sort of happening. Why this? Humanity itself has been locked into a bandwidth that is not beneficial and not sustainable for like for the cosmos. It's not sustainable for everything that gets experienced. For here is where experience grows the soul most. This is an experience of duality. This is an experience of extremes. There is no need for the extremes anymore. There's no need for the unnecessary brutality and suffering that gets experienced. It has been done. It has been done too much. It has been done to the point that we have gotten stuck. And because there is the capacity for growth here, not outside, not after here, in your okay, in it, they're kind of showing me like in one, you have a lifetime and you have all of these opportunities for growth and expansion and of putting down things that you continue to carry over and continue to reverberate around. There is the opportunity for stepping into something that involves existing as a human in a way that humans have not existed since there was the start of humans. Would you like to go a little further into that one? Or would you like me to keep going down to your question? Okay.
Chasing that rabbit hole.
So, okay, start of humans. Humanity began very differently. Not as physical, not as attached, much more open and available to being able to communicate in the way that deeper, easier communication occurs. Being able to see and feel on a deep level what is going on, how to make changes, how to utilize. They're showing me just like the physics. I'm seeing this is where it gets fun, because I'm seeing this like first person observer perspective, and there's these basically huge mathematical things that need to get put into place. And it's not a matter of sitting down and writing out the equations for how to calculate exactly how this exists. It's a matter of taking it into senses, feeling into it, and the way that I'm seeing it, almost taking the essence of everything that you are into your entire being, and then being able to simply know how to shape what needs to be shaped. It is simply available to you to ding, 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 open. Said metaphorically, but also slightly literally, what we define as magic, what we define as impossibilities. It has existed on the planet. It has existed in a heart-centered space. Oh, we're getting weird. Like it. It has existed in ways in which the mind has deemed impossible. The mind deems many things impossible. Many things that already occur, mind deems impossible, for the mind does not know. It can look, it can observe, it can see, it does not know. It's not designed to. It's a piece of hardware. It's not the connection with you. To have a mind that can operate. I just said to have a mind that can operate heavy, soulful machinery. But they're referring to cells. They're referring to the body. Sorry, it just got me giddy because it's like,
I know, me too. That's hilarious.
The mind cannot operate heavy machinery. The mind cannot operate soulful. So that soul filled. The mind cannot operate soul filled machinery because it does not understand the mechanics and the physics of everything that is going on. This is an experience. This is an experience that is created, was created, continues to be created in every moment. And our capacity to create in that experience has been significantly diminished by the structure of the mind that has taken over humans for many years. And there has been the intention to create what was originally desired. That creation process already happened. It is already available. We are simply experiencing what it means to go through this evolution, because now is the time for that to happen. And those who come in with anything that is classified as different, anything that is determined to be not part of what is acceptable, is a piece of that evolution, is a part of creating an experience as a human so that that template exists. Once the template exists, it can be used and utilized, picked up as easily as you pick up physical pieces of your reality. We incorporate these in. We download and upload and update as necessary. All of these pieces of information that we are receiving, all of these, they really don't want to use the word codes. They're very specific. They're like, they don't want to use the word codes. It's an energetic experience. They don't want to attach a word to it right now. But the pieces, there's a lot of things that they tend to send through me that they're like, I don't want your mind to run away with. Like, just feel it. Just feel it and it's fine. That's kind of the feeling that comes through with those. But what is this for? What does this mean for neurodivergent folks? You picked a very specific path. You picked a very specific template to use on your journey here. You picked this so that you could experience it, and so that you could experience what it means to be part of an evolution from a mind-based perspective. To take the mind and disassemble it in a way so that it can be reconfigured in a way that is centered on you. That becomes much easier when you have a neurodivergent brain. It's a pathway that is more fluid because it needs to be. It's less constrained. Therefore, the perspectives that you are capable of seeing are more, and they keep showing me, they're going back to that ball. You are not flat on a page. You are capable of looking in every direction. That is not the old construct. That is not the old brain. That is not the neurotypical brain. Neurotypical brains will struggle harder with this flow integration. And some are here so that they can take the harder path into a flow integration of self. All are recognized as paths to getting to this point. And there are souls who are here simply to experience witnessing what others are experiencing too, and are finding it to be rather inhospitable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, to put it mildly.
Like that.
To put it mildly.
like, yeah. yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. Bit of an I feel like it's a bit of an understatement from the guy.
We said they had a sense of humor, man. I think that is that word choice exactly. Oh, that's fascinating. So the question that came to mind as you were speaking about the choice of brain type that we're experiencing as this is all unfolding was not only that it is the evolution of mind in a lifetime, in a single experience, as opposed to over multiple generations, but also what I would love to ask next is for those of us that have chosen that path, the path of fluidity in this single experience, what are we bringing to the collective with that journey? So it's not only for us, it's for everybody. So what wisdom and learning and experience are we bringing and unlocking those templates? What are they?
Perspectives. It's providing a perspective that can only be unique when you are not flat on the page. It is providing a perspective that can only be achieved when you are not housed in a box. And it is a perspective that can be felt in a place of duality by pushing heavily on one side so that the other can be illuminated as well. To be in this feeling of other is beneficial at a time when figuring out what you want and where you want to go exists more readily when you are connected with you. And the less you are entangled with anything outside of you, the more direct that path becomes, and the easier it becomes in time when you are able to put down that which hurts by feeling disconnected from other. The experience of neurodivergence, the experience of being in this othered state of identity, is new and is distanced. This distance will help with finding you. And these exist as literal interpretations and reorganizations of cells in your body and pathways that information is sent. It is an optimization of efficiencies. It simply takes iterative processes for this to occur, and is something that you and your brain, body, mind are collectively engaging in at every moment. This continued movement through very discrepancy-riddled times are how you can maintain a central column of who you are as everything else comes to light everywhere else. It allows you to find your path. And if it is aligned in a sense of love and purpose and understanding, it allows you the creative opportunities to... Where are you guys going with this? They gave me a lot of information at once. It's just like a good douche. It happens sometimes. They kind of just dump it all in.
Welcome to my human life too.
So what they keep kind of showing me is really just how being able to distinguish is actually a really important skill right now, because there is a huge need to distinguish between what is truth, and when we say truth, it's what is your truth, just you. Not everyone who has your label, not everyone you identify with, not everyone you entangle with, not what you think you should be or who you think you should be, but you. Because you identify uniquely. Your path and your story is uniquely laid out for you in every moment. Being able to distinguish who you are and what feels like truth to you from a place of loving resonance is how you navigate this changing world. It is going to continue changing. There will continue to be complications, but they are opportunities to see what matters, what is aligned with you, what is not. And making these individual choices about what is your truth allow you to step into the next phase of what you are doing here. And that is unique for everyone. It allows you to know what is next, where is next, what is in the pathway that I have laid for myself here. And for those who have come in with neurodivergence, it is a path that started in a painful place for many, and a path that began in places that involved more loving support than they had known in any other circumstance. It is an opportunity for connection and an opportunity for individuation. Both are useful in walking alongside a changing world. There are skills that you have with a brain that is not locked into a box. And there are opportunities for bringing together that which you have distanced yourself from within you. There are skills you can use. There are pieces of yourself that you can bring back into wholeness. They're kind of also pushing with this and to start with celebrating your unique journey and what it has taught you so far. You can do a life review in every moment and take stock of everything that you have experienced already and use that to know what is next for you. Okay. Kind of giving me like a stopping point.
That's so beautiful. I mean, I have 10 million questions, but the one that I will ask for those of us that are living the neurodivergent experience and are just taking these first steps onto the path of understanding our own unique self and our gifts, what advice do they have for those of us in that position that will bring them the most love and support as they continue to move along that path?
Oh, they're getting me ready for this one. Sometimes I'll do this. I'll be on hold for a second. I call it being on hold. It's when I can feel.
It's like the elevator music is playing.
Yeah, I can sort of feel it in my body. There's sort of, because there's a calibration that's happening with my body with these things, because it is a very, when we're thinking in terms of just the physics of, information that's flowing, this is all very high vibration. I live in a very dense thing. I'm still dealing with my own personal stuff. So
same.
I resonate like in terms of like, if you could see my like frequency of things, it's like wong wong, and they're like me. So it's it's
well, yeah, it's like it's the mosquito from before that I caught. That's the difference.
Okay. So your question again is advice for those who are in the beginning stages of walking this path of coming back to themselves.
Yes.
Within you is a unique capacity to know what lights you up. And finding that is part of the game that you have come to play. It is it is an opportunity and an invitation to turn your attention back into you, back into the part of you, the parts of you that you don't want to talk to, that you don't want to acknowledge, and that you don't like. Come back into loving every part of you. And every part that comes out that is not something that you want to believe is you, is how you exist in this world, that is the part that aches for your attention. Your attention is divine. Your attention is you. And when you've been made to feel as though your attention doesn't matter because you don't matter, you forget that you are the most loving thing that you could ever be. And your attention is the most loving bit of attention that could ever exist, even if you are yelling at parts of yourself. The next step for anyone starting into any journey with themselves is to go deep. And go deep with the understanding that when you come across that which you are not happy with, it is an opportunity to decide if you want to keep it or if you choose to let it go. You get the choice. It is not stuck with you. Nothing about how you believe to be is irreparable, is stuck permanently. And I just asked them, like, you sure about that? Like, well, no, because they kind of gave me a smirk. They're just like, you currently don't believe it's true. That's part of the problem. That's part of what holds you back. You believe that what you have is who you are and nothing more. And they're like, and you're kind of this and you're kind of that and you're kind of that, but you're deep down just this incorrect version of a human. You chose a different path than ones that you have chosen in the past. Simply that. New experience, interesting experience, different experience with sub-pockets of understanding, the capacity to find a group that feels connected, and a significant amount of distance and constant attempt to prove yourself to yourself. You don't need to prove anything to yourself. You simply need to listen and notice and love every part of what's inside of you. Because everything else does. Every cell in your body resonates in that. Everything outside of this experience resonates that toward you. Your attention and your choices are what is driving your experience. Turning inward, finding where to utilize your skills, where to showcase your favored parts, and when to step into every piece of who you are is already orchestrated. You simply have to choose when you want to do it, and if there are fun things you'd like to do along the way. Okay, we're going in a different direction here. I keep asking them for practical steps. I'm like, this is nice, this is lovely, this is beautiful. Practical steps. Ask yourself questions. Always ask yourself questions. And take the time to stop and notice what's answering back. Simply notice. Does your head answer back? Does a spot in your body answer back? Does an emotion, does a thought, does anything? Or does a judgment answer back? And do not get entangled with anything that comes through. Simply observe it. Say hello. Introduce yourself. If you've never had this conversation before, it's the polite thing to do. I feel like it was just for me. I felt like it was for me. Fair enough. That felt like a dig. Some non-judgmental space. So I don't know. No. No.
Yeah, I had to tell them off once before. I'll just say that to the audience. So watch yourselves.
Every choice is individual. Every step is orchestrated by you in the moment. You decide how you experience your life in many different ways, but it flows and you are able to connect back in with yourself when you simply turn your attention back to you. You have more skills in that arena than most, and you have a built-in capacity to think differently than what you see and have been shown and have been taught. Use the difference. The difference is how you can navigate this fully. No answers on how to exist come from anywhere outside of you. And they're like, truly, don't listen to Charlie. Don't listen to Sarah. Listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen entirely to you and only to you. And follow the actions that start from a place of love, fun, joy, anything that allows you to feel connected is your direction for actions to take. Thoughts spin. The mind decides what is the safest path forward, and they will continue to do that. It's okay. Feel it. And if you don't know how to feel it, think and ask yourself, where can I feel this? And wait. And if you don't get an answer, ask again later. You are your own magic 8-ball. Treat yourself as such and trust what comes out.
Oh my God. I'm just seeing all the messages on the magic 8-ball now. Chances are not good.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Helpful information, though. Helpful information.
Oh my gosh, I love that visual. That's so good. Oh. Well, the only thing I think I'm sensing that we're getting to a good point where the messages they have to share for now are closing up. I feel like there's one last thread that is related and open, which is through our journey of walking our own path back to our sense of self and who we are in our home that is determined only by our inside sense of us. As we're doing that and we're connecting more to this human, I have noticed that neurodivergent folks in general just have an instant connection with each other when we are sharing similar experience, and it evaporates any kind of barriers that we might experience in our life with other forms of connection with other types of people. Can you speak to us a bit about that instantaneous kinship that happens and how we can use that experience to create more connection in general in our experience here on Earth?
fostering connection in a disjointed world is a challenge. That's really interesting, because when you asked the question, what really came through was they just instantaneously gave me this image of different different types, sure, of neurodivergence, but this I'll just tell you how it came into me. It's just you almost think of it like we're constantly broadcasting any number of things, but there is the way in which those go out. Like, I literally saw it as brainwaves that kind of emanate out, thought patterns, the way in which thoughts come, the way in which thoughts exist, and then the way in which thoughts become what comes out of our mouth, the process by which it goes, like, zooms around your body and comes on out. And what I'm sort of seeing are they look, if you're thinking waveforms, they look different, but are really just a waveform of fluidity versus a waveform of there's just not a whole lot of movement. And so what they're showing me, and they're showing me instead of they're doing it with feeling and with visuals right now, instead of trying to kind of talk through me, which is what they do when I slow down. I think we're just giving you the variety pack today of like how this experience kind of unfolds, because you can see how fast I talk.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah. So it's really what they're really showing me is that as we are kind of they're kind of showing me like bumping into each other in this experience, but energetically speaking, as we're coming into proximity with one another, and as we're connecting with one another, we are having these moments of physics where our energy waves and other people's energy waves are interacting. And it's not even just, it's dependent on what we have around us, like, what's in our sphere, what we're thinking about, where those are kind of emanating, and everything that we're carrying. There's a shared level of how this information comes out anyway. This shared difference in pathways that create sort of I almost think of it like when you're playing instruments or doing something, like I'm kind of the feeling of when you have a big drum and you're drumming in the center and it's really, and then you get to the end and then everything just gets a little bit lighter. The constricted box is really where a lot of folks are, but having that even and it's almost like talking about like the experience and perspective that you get by just the act of being neurodivergent, not even necessarily the pathways themselves, but the capacity to be in this more expanded state means that you resonate at a different spot anyway, and co-resonators just feel lighter because they're not feeling that dense constriction. There's already been there's already been this opening and this looking around that has already been done on such a level that when you're interacting with a fellow person who has been doing this, you're like, oh, I can tell that you've been doing this your whole life because I've been doing this my whole life, as opposed to that. You can feel it. You can feel the difference, and you can when you're with someone else, even though they might not be doing what I'm doing with my body right now, energetically speaking, this is kind of it. And this is kind of it for a number of reasons. I mean, neurodivergence, that you can be born with it. You can absolutely have it based on things that happen in your life. Trauma creates a neurodivergence. That was where my neurodivergence came from. And it is this taking what was a very constricted mind and not having the level of containment, not having the level of this is the only way to exist, because this is the only perspective bandwidth that the mind can have. Instead, it is a mind that has been perpetually doing this. And so, now they're showing me it's, like I'm getting like a wacky waving inflatable tube band kind of thing. It's just like, there's just a lot more movement. And when there's a lot more movement, those who also have that movement recognize the movement. They don't know why they do. They just know that because they can feel it, because it is an expanded state. It is I've been looking around constantly because I know I've been told, and I also just know that this is not working for me, because it does not work for my body and my brain, because that's how all of this has been put together. Our brains, when brains are no longer in that constricted state, number of reasons for it, there is a difference in how these electrical impulses happen, in where they happen, and it creates they're kind of showing me, just like, it kind of creates an energy field that you're just a little bit more sparkly. Like you're just kind of like this. Which some people are like this with their field. And that's a little bit more emotion, like there's, you got a little bit more emotions going, but when you're not constricted, you just have a little bit more sparkle to you. And those who also sparkle can feel it. That's what it feels like. That's what I'm kind of getting is I really do, like I imagine like the kawaii things that like show up on the cheeks, like it really does kind of feel like that sort of sensation of I can't use visual or auditory input to make sense of what I'm noticing in this that's happening right now. But I just know that there's something happening for me here, and I just pick it up on you too. So my sparkles can feel your sparkles, basically.
I love it.
Extrasensory things that we don't have names for yet, basically.
Spidey senses.
And it is spidey senses, but they're also kind of showing me that it actually is, from a biological standpoint, there are literal things in how the central nervous system processes emotions and perceptions of things. And depending on your own life's experiences, but just how your brain and body are working together, it just creates a much more broad definition of these neural pathways. They just don't seem to. They seem to be much more capable of just sort of diverting when they need to, and so your central nervous system can. Okay, so they're actually showing me two things. They're like, well, you need to get a little bit more heart-centered before it can really do that. Okay. Got it. But there is still this feeling of what I have experienced, and my capacity for perspective is now kind of something I wear outside of me, because it's something that I'm actively emanating. And those who can sort of, find same, because our brains and bodies are exceptionally good at like finding pattern recognition. Yay. And especially if you're feeling isolated at all, which is like, I don't know, I've never met a person with neurodivergence who doesn't feel isolated. So that you kind of, if you feel isolated, you kind of permanently have this, your sniffer out. you're always looking for that which will align best in a way that makes you feel less alone. And you can feel the similarities. You can actually feel it in your central nervous system itself. It's not something that you can sense with, other senses so much, although patterns and ways in which we talk, and obviously the sharing of things that we know about, but there really is this instantaneous you is me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The vibe check.
Yeah. I mean, vibe. Yeah. Basically vibes. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. Just instantaneous.
Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful way to visualize the interaction that happens and the sparkliness. I love that. And as you're talking about us colliding really into each other, I'm just imagining magic 8-balls hitting each other after the last one.
That's all we are. We're all just a bunch of magic 8-balls, you know?
Yeah, just a bunch of cosmic magic 8-balls that smack into each other and see if the vibrations are the same or not.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like we're nearing a close of our communication with the records today. So I will just invite them to share any parting messages with us as we wrap up.
Before we go, is there anything else that would be in Sarah's highest good? It's interesting. There's like a two-parter. They want to do a message like for you. And then there is sort of this bigger sort of feeling. Okay, they really do just want to continue to they really want to invite you to welcome this groundedness. It's a bit newer. You've grounded, but this is a newer level of grounding. And then there's just, it comes with just a heaping dose of I want to call it pride, but it's like not really that. It's sort of this bigger, like, you did it. There's some things that it's sort of this, like, there's some things you've been wanting to, there's some pieces of what you've been trying to do that haven't felt real yet. They're just like, it's real. Like, yeah, it's real. Like, there's that's what I keep getting. It's just sort of like the but it's a very reserved, subtle, like, you know, we understand that you're doing this for everybody, but we also just want to be like from your guides.
Yeah, I know. I'm just envisioning someone like standing in the background like, yeah, good job.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the feeling.
Oh, I love it.
And for all who are connecting and wanting more to know, find your next step. Your next step comes from you, no one else. The sovereignty within you has been with you. It is you. Everything that you think you are is so much grander. And you have support. The feelings that come up when you are connecting in with yourself will be big, and they will be important for you to take the opportunity to know. And then it just comes with this heaping, absolutely heaping. Like, I just got put into a a massive stadium full of just cheering crowds of people, and it is for you. And it's sort of like this is for Sarah, but she doesn't need to hear this right now. This is for oh my god. Okay. This is for Sarah, but this is for I can feel it too. This is for this feeling that is arising right now. This piece of you that is waiting for you to reconnect. Simply go inside. Talk to yourself. Find out where you are. Yes. And that's just kind of it.
Oh,
it's a very teasing.
Where you are. That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. I will invite you to close the records in a process.
Close your records. Yes.
Yeah. Also, we'll just edit out for the same reasons we talked about before, and we'll come back and check with Charlie before we sign off.
That got way funnier than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I didn't know how comedic they might turn up today. I am getting the sense that one of the archetypes that I am very at home in is what does she call it? Oh, someone's talking about the sacred clown recently, and I was listening to something about that, and I was like, crap.
That feels good. I mean,
yeah. So I didn't know how much of the clown was coming today.
I've had them explain it before. Like, what happens when you're in the sacred space, you're trying to be all reverent, you're trying to whatever, and you just get jokes. You just get nothing but jokes. And they told me, they're like, it's because it's the fastest way to pop your energy up. Like you get into this stuff, like, yeah, you're vibrating high and you're whatever, but like we get very solemn when we get sacred. Like we get really like, we slow down. We're like, ooh. And it's not that you're not vibrating to a specific place, but you kind of, especially when you're trying to talk and translate like any information, for me at least, it's very easy for me to kind of like go into what, let's be honest, would probably be me falling asleep, because I just go down. I'm just like, okay, all right, cool, bye everybody. Like, y'all do what you need to do.
When I was talking to Human You for those snippets between, you can see that you're like, oh, I could have a nap right now.
Because when I come like kind of out, I'm still completely connected in, and it's a very lulling, like, your records are like that, especially because it's just like, yeah, we're just vibing. That's what your records do to me. They're just very much like, oh my goodness. Oh,
you're not the only one that said that
on here. Everyone's are different, but it is very easy to kind of lull there. But sort of same thing, especially if there is something that is lower and more dense. Humor, like it just pops you. It goes boop, and it gives you that little like burst back up to where you can have a productive conversation.
Yeah, well, it's what I see of, like trying to catch bubbles almost. Like if you don't pop it, if you were to like get under it and clap your hands, and that gust of air just kind of goes, it shoots it straight up in the air. That's
exactly
yeah. And I think that's the joy of that archetype, is true, really gifted comedians. I wouldn't consider myself one, but people that do that as their gift, their primary gift that they offer, it is the instantaneous contrast with humor. And what I think is true comedy, personal choice, is the lens of kindness put on it all, because that is, I think, the purpose of that is to provide the contrast in a confronting but lightening and kind way to give us that immediate shift. There's a lot of comedy usually when my records are open, because I think that's a really big player in my experience. So I just loved the time spent together. As we've said, it's often a conversation. I feel like I'm just talking with them. And I mean, it was less conversational than sometimes it is for us, just because of the nature of the forum that we're doing it in. But I invite anyone who has curiosity about the records and accessing them and how that space works and feels. Both Charlie and I'm sure, would welcome conversations around that on our various platforms. And the other thing that I will iterate again is the Little Soul School is where Charlie and I met each other and have both learned our process of doing this. So if you have a little glimmer that you're chasing towards it, I would point you there for your own path to investigate. Anything, Charlie, from your experience of the time spent in the records today that you wanted to share with us now that you're back in fully Charlie mode, let's call it?
Yeah. Just kind of reiterating everything that they said, which they started going down some pretty big paths that I'm going to be spinning out about mentally for a little while. That's new. But the real big feeling that kind of came in is just, you did come down here. We came down here to have very specific experiences to evolve everyone, to evolve humanity itself, because we're on this trajectory to evolve past the point of where we are heading toward a self-destructive path. Like that's kind of the big picture, kind of the really big picture. But on an individual level, that's a little overwhelming because it kind of then feels like, oh, okay, so even though there are probably, billions of us that are like actively doing this on some sort of level, it kind of feels like all the pressure's on me, like that kind of feeling of personal pressure in greater context. And I kind of want to just speak to that because that's what my mind goes to is sort of that like, well, that's a lot of pressure. Like,
yeah, exactly. I'm here to do what now?
Like my experience is evolving humanity. Like,
yeah, okay, whatever.
Like, yeah. So it's this weird combination of like, absolutely not, under no circumstances, what are you talking about? And that's a whole lot of pressure to put on a person who's already kind of had a really difficult experience of being a human with a neurodivergence. Like, isn't that enough? And it's really just sort of this, they keep calling it an invitation, but it really is just sort of this bigger understanding that you're not alone in this. And by this, I mean having a neurodivergent human experience. You're not the only one, I promise. I feel like we do collectively know that now. Like, yeah, we know we're not alone. We have this connection. But that doesn't stop us from feeling isolated, and it doesn't stop us from feeling lonely, and it doesn't stop us from feeling, again, all of the pressure that comes with it too. I say all of that to acknowledge that that's a big part of the feelings that kind of come up when you kind of go there mentally. And what they really push is to lean into where you go elsewhere. And you still go mentally, but lean into where you go that's different than I'm just focusing on why this is hard. Every single person who is neurodivergent absolutely can detail why it's hard and what sucks and how it's awful.
And also getting stuck in it. I'm good at that one.
Oh, we're so good at that. So good at that. And honestly, take your trophies for it. You know what? Complain. Do what you want to do. Like, yeah, do it. But they're really the big feeling and the big emphasis that everything about that just came out really was you have an internal capacity to see what these dumbasses aren't seeing. And by that, I just mean anybody who's being a complete just nightmare person. Like, you have the capacity to see things differently. Use it. Like, that is a part of why you're here. Not to single-handedly do a damn thing. Absolutely not. But to take what you have and find what about your experience and what about you specifically is cool and is so uniquely your brand and your you-ness. Because, and I say that from personal experience, the more you lean into the thing that lights you up every time, that's the expansion. That's the evolution. That's what gets us to this collective place where we are existing collectively in a way that is conducive to growth and not destruction. Like, we can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the internal journey, right? It's not doing anything outside of yourself. It's the same as how you find yourself inside. It is the work done in here that affects the change everywhere else. I love that this focus and this point to kind of talk about from the human experience of it, because that's the other thing I'll say about the records is they are such big picture that sometimes it can be tough translating their intent outside of this experience that you and I have shared. People will be watching and listening and get some flavor of it, but it really is additional layers, I think, from where we're sitting. And it is not ever about the lack of choice to lean into that or not, or the ways in that your mind tells you it's kind of committing you to. Because if you're like me, you're like, well, I don't want to do it then. I'm going to choose what I want to do. So it's more just do exactly what you just shared so beautifully is, follow the thing that lights you up, follow the thing that feels right for you and your healing and your next step. And the more you are able to do that and not get stuck in those patterns of, I don't know, I call them tantrums because that's what they feel like when I these moments. It's okay to feel big feelings. That is not what I'm saying. But if you allow yourself to feel them and move through them and forward, then that in itself sometimes is what you came here to do. nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever feels right for you, however big or small your mind tells you it is, that is perfect.
I have nothing else to add. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I will leave it there for our dedicated people who are still with us. We can get lost in the records real easily. So again, as I said last time we spoke, I expect this will not be the last time we see you on this platform. And I would just like to thank you again for your time and your gifts and your being you, so that we can all have the joy of spending time in the records and seeing what a beautiful space and experience it can be to be connected in that way. So I appreciate you
so much for having me. This was so much fun.
So until then, I will invite everybody to listen into our previous episode together if they want more of Charlie. And the other thing, which I realized I forgot to ask you last time, is where can people connect with you and learn more about what you're up to?
Yes. So soulharmonyconnection.com. It will, I'm sure, be in the description down below.
Absolutely.
Is my website. You can book a private Akashic record reading with me where I can get very specific. This was a bit more esoteric, a bit bigger picture. A lot of the readings that I do are very, very specific, to the point where you will get very, very helpful answers to some of your bigger questions about what's going on in life, what's going on with things. And soulharmonyconnection.substack.com. I've got one of those. And I also, just on the same profile, I'm also writing about my life with DID, which we didn't really talk about in this particular episode, but that is my journey. I came down into a very interesting life, and it has taken some very bizarre, fun, chaotic turns.
Yeah, so some amazing options to continue to engage with you and the work that you're doing. And we will see you back here the next time around, and I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you for expanding with us on Divergent Wisdom Broadcast. We deeply appreciate the contribution of your time and attention to our shared adventure. If today's discussion resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts, revelations, and experiences in the comments. Please take a moment to subscribe and share us with your cosmic crew. And remember, we're all made of the same stardust.